everyone, welcome to Codestar. So this is lecture number 6 from the C++ beginner to advanced series. In the lecture number 5, you got to know about loops of different kinds. The first kind was for loop, the second kind was while loop, and the third kind was do while loop. You also got to know that these two are the loops that are going to be used 9 out of 10 times. Like this loop will be used very unique cases. Okay, fine. So these are the things that you got to know. So as promised, this is the video that will contain tutorial problems on loop. Fine. Without wasting the time, beginning with the first problem. So the problem states that we need to write a program to display the first 10 natural numbers. So let's suppose how will this look on the paper? First 10 natural numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4 and something like that up to 10, right? This is how we will write it on paper, and this is how exactly the same way we need to print it on the screen, right? This is what we want to do. Now since the task is being repeated, you can just see printing 10 natural numbers, right? We are going to use loop, right? And now you have two loops, for loop and while loop. See, any particular question that is going to be done by loop can be done by either for loop or while loop. It depends on your efficiency to use either for loop or while loop in which you are more comfortable with. Fine. So what I'll do is that some questions will be done by using for loop by me and some would be done by using while loop. What your homework will be that you just need to do the same question using another kind of loop. Like if I do this first question using for loop, you have to try the same question using while loop. Fine. So let's start with this problem. How will I write the code for this? Since I need first 10 natural numbers, now try to understand how I'm writing this and then I'll explain. Fine. I'll write something like that. For int I is equal to 1, I less than equal 10, I plus plus. Fine. What I want on the screen, 1 2 3 4. Now try to understand the value of I is changing from 1 to 10, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and I want to print the same thing on the screen, 1 to 10, right? So what I'll do is that I'll just print I on the screen, right? What I'll do, see out I, and I'll just write endl here, and you know the reason why, because each number is being printed on the next line. Fine. Now let's try to understand how is it working, right? I introduced this variable int I is equal to 1 and I less than equal to 10. So for I is equal to 1, initially I was 1, right? And 1 is less than equal to 10, condition is true. What happens is that I gets printed on the screen. That means 1 gets printed on the screen and the pointer moves to the next line. Simple. In the next iteration, I gets updated by 1. That means I gets converted to 2, right? 2 is less than equal 10. Fine. 2 gets printed on the screen. Again endl, pointer moving on to the next line. Similarly, I gets updated to 3. Again 3 gets printed on the screen. Again endl, pointer moves to the next line. And this goes on until I is equal to 10. 10 gets printed on the screen. After this, I becomes 11, right? I plus plus I becomes 11, but 11 is neither less than nor equal to 10. That means the condition becomes false. The loop terminates. We move out of the loop. That means the result gets printing something like that, 1 2 3 4 and dot 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 up to 10. This is what we needed, right? So this is how the first program looks. So let me try to code it up in the editor. So let's see. So first you need to write that basic skeleton of the program, right? So I'll just write that basic skeleton. Hash include iostream using namespace std. Fine. Int main return 0. Fine. Everything is going to be written here now, right? I'll write the same code for int I is equal to 1, I less than equal 10, I plus plus, cout I, enter. That's it. Should work, right? So upon running it, as you can see, the output is obtained. The desired output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is obtained. So this is how it is working, right? Moving on to the next problem. Write a program to compute the sum of first 10 natural numbers. You have to just compute the sum of first 10 natural numbers, right? So what I'll do is that I'll travel through all the 10 natural numbers in the same way I did it here, right? I'm traveling here, right? I'm using this I is containing that particular number that I want, right? I'm just traveling here. Same thing has to be done here. I have to travel these 10 natural numbers, right? But on the way, I have to compute the sum also. So what will I do is that I'll just keep a variable called sum and I'll keep adding I to it. And at the end of the loop, that means when the loop terminates, the sum variable will contain the sum of all the variables, right? Let's see how will I do it. I'll just write something like that. Int sum is equal to 0. Fine. And then I'll run the loop. For int I is equal to 1, I less than equal to 10, I plus plus. I don't need to print anything on the screen, right? I just need to compute the sum and then print it on the screen. So no need to write something like cout I and l, right? What I'll do is that I'll just do sum plus equal to I. You might have understood what does this plus equal to mean. I don't need to press it, right? And after this, I'll do cout sum. Simple. This is how it is working, isn't it? Let's try it on the editor. So let me remove this. I'll write sum int sum is equal to 0 for int I is equal to 1, I less than equal 10, I plus plus, sum plus equal to I, right? And then cout sum. Simple. Let's try. You can get the sum as 55. Let's try and count all these numbers. You'll get 55 for sure, right? This is how it is working. Fine. So we got completed with the second problem. Moving on to the third problem. Now you just saw I used for loop for the true problems, right? And now I'll be using while loop for all the remaining problems. But your work is that you have to attempt these first two problems using while loop. And if you are not getting anything out of it, just comment me. I'll try to explain it to you. Fine. Moving on to the third problem. Okay. The problem says that write a program to display the cube of a number up to an integer. Cube of a number up to an integer. So what the problem is saying is that you will be given an integer as input, right? And just show me the cube of it. Show me the cube of it. Suppose 3 is given as input, show me 27. 4 is given as input, show me 64. 5 is given as input, show me 125. This is what program is asking us to do, right? So how will I do it? Let's see. I'll write a loop, something like that. I'll write a while loop, right? See, what I'll do is that I'll just keep a variable called x, right? And I'll keep multiplying number into x. Like I'll keep x is equal to 1. Let's suppose I need the cube of 3. What I'll do is that x is equal to x into 3, x is equal to x into 3, x is equal to x into 3. What will happen is that after this statement x will become 3, after this statement x will become 9, and after this statement x will become 27. Fine. So I need to repeat this statement 3 times, right? since this is constant 3, I will take some input from the user and I'll put it here and I'll run this loop 3 times, right? I have to run only 3 times. 3 is constant right here. So like, since this I have to calculate the cube, I have to run the loop only 3 times, right? So what I'll do is that, since in while loop you need a regulatory variable, right? Some variable. Let's suppose I mark this variable as int I is equal to 1, right? And I use the while loop while I less than equal to 3. So this will get executed for I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, and I is equal to 3. 3 times, exactly 3 times. I needed that. Fine. So I also need this variable, right? I will declare this variable right here. Int x is equal to 1. Fine. What I have to do is that I have to just multiply this. Like, I have to take the input, right? So I'll just change the code. I have to take input as well. So let's take the input first. I'll write n in 10 and then I'll write c in n, right? After taking the input, I'll use this variable int x is equal to 1 and I'll use this variable int I is equal to. Fine. While I less than equal to 3, the loop gets run 3 times. X is equal to x into n. So we used 3 here, right? This was actually n, nothing but n, right? And I'll do I plus plus at the end so that I gets updated. And at the end, I'll just write after the loop cout x, as simple as that. So this is how the code will work, right? So let's try on the editor. Okay, I'll declare this n first, int n, and I'll take input, right? And then I'll declare int x is equal to 1 and then int x is equal to 1, and after that int I is equal to 1, right? Using while loop, while I less than equal to 3, x is equal to x into n, and then I'll update I, and after that I'll just make output of x. Simple. So I have to give input of n from the screen, right? I'll just save it and then try and run it. Fine. This is asking an input. Let's suppose I enter 5. This shows me 125. Let's again run it. Let's suppose I enter 6. It will show 216, right? It is showing 216. Fine. The code is working fine. Fine. Moving on to the next program. So the next program says that write a program to display n terms of odd natural numbers and their sum, right? So what will happen is that you will get n as input, and you have to show n odd natural numbers and also show their sum. So let me tell you how is it working. If let's suppose someone gives you n is equal to 5, what you have to do is that you have to print first 5 odd natural numbers on the screen. What are the first 5 odd natural numbers? They are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and after that you have to just print their sum as well. The sum will be 9, 7, 16, 21, 24, 25, right? The sum will be 25. So this is what you need to obtain from the code, right? So how will it work? Just see here. The difference is 2. The difference is 2. The difference is 2. The difference is 2. Earlier, the difference was not 2. The difference was 1. How difference was 1? Because the variable I was updated only one time, right? I was being just using postfix operator. Like, if the value of I was 1, it just got updated to 2. So what is the difference in the program that I'll do? I'll just make I getting updated by 2 units, not just 1 unit. So I'll just write something like that. I is equal to I plus 2. I will get updated by 2 units. and then I'll get to see all this, right? So how the code will look like? I'll take input of n, right? Before that I have to declare n. Fine. Using while loop. So for using while loop, I need a regulatory variable, right? Int I is equal to 1 while I less than equal to n. Also you need a sum, right? So I'll declare a sum variable is equal to 0, right? Okay. Using this while loop, so what I have to do is that I have to just print something on the screen, right? Okay, I'll just write cout I and done. But there exists a problem with this code. I'll tell you. So what I'm actually trying to do, I have sum also, right? I'll just do sum plus equal to I, and then I'll do I is equal to I plus 2. So this is what I meant to write. So I'll after that I'll just do cout sum, right? So just just see the problem with this code now. I is being 1, right? And I is getting updated by 2. Let's suppose for the same case n is equal to 5. I would be 1, the condition is true, 1 gets printed on the screen. After that I gets updated by 2 units, that means I becomes 3, right? 3 less than equal 5, condition is true, 3 gets printed on the screen. After that I becomes 5, condition is true, 5 gets printed on the screen. But after that I becomes 7, 7 is not less than equal to 5, the condition becomes false, loop terminates. So I got only these 3 variables, right? Where are these 2 variables? I was not able to get it, right? What will I do? What will I do to like get these 2 numbers as well? Since you are shifting by 2 units, I is being shifted by 2 units, but you are using the same n here, the problem is arising. So the solution would be to just use n into 2 here. Just use n into 2 here. Now n into 2 is actually 10 in this case, right? If you are taking this 10, you will get numbers till 9, and this is what you needed, right? You will get numbers till 9 if you use 10 here. So what you need to do is that you just need to put I less than equal to n into 2. That's it, and your problem will be solved. Fine. So let's do it. Let's do it. I'll write n into 2, and then I can just output I on the screen. I can add to sum, and then at the end I'll output sum on the screen, right? This is how the code will work. You might be seeing some basic logics here. You just need to run your code yourself on the paper using these different values of I, and then you will get to know what are the errors the code can get to you, right? So let's try it on the editor. Fine. I'll declare the variable. I'll take input. I'll use the regulatory variable, and I'll use sum variable is equal to 0, right? I'll use a while loop while I less than equal to n into 2. I have to print I on the screen, and right? And I is equal to I plus 2, and sum plus equal to I. That's it. And I have to print sum on the screen in the end, right? So let's try running it. It is asking for an input. So let's suppose I give the same input 10. Okay. So I got 10 numbers right here from 1 to 19, and I got the sum as 20. Let's suppose I give the input as 5, right? So let's suppose I give the input as 5. Then the output that I desired 13579, and then the sum 35. Fine. So the code is working fine, right? We completed this question as well. Moving on to the last program of this tutorial. write a program to display the multiplication table of a given integer. Right? You just will be given an integer n. Let's suppose n is equal to 5. You have to display the complete table of it. How does a table look? 5 into 1 is equal to 5. 5 into 2 is equal to 10. 5 into 3 is equal to 15, and something like that. 5 into 10 is equal to 50. So this is how a table will look, right? Here you have to write a program to display this table. So try it yourself first. This is a master question for this for loop, at least for now. And after this, we'll do some better questions as well. But out of those 4 problems, you can see this problem as a combination of all those 4 problems, right? So I'll just declare a variable int10 and I'll take input, right? Since I will be using a for loop, I will be having a regulatory variable, right? And I have to run for loop until n less than equal n, right? So but I have to print on the screen. So every time you are seeing, for every repetition, you are getting this 5 as a repeated number. What is 5 actually? 5 is n. N is being repeated, right? So simply every time you just need to write cout 5. That's it. I got 5. Again, this multiplication sign is also getting repeated, right? Again, I'll write cout. Since this multiplication sign will be a character, I'll use this. Simple. So I just printed this on the screen. I just printed this on the screen. Now this is being varied 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. And this is actually I that we are giving into the regulatory variable. So after this, I'll write cout I. Again, this equal to sign is being repeated every time. After this, I'll write cout equal to sign in the form of a character, right? And after this, the result of the multiplication 5, 10, 15. How will this happen? Quite easy to understand, right? Just do n multiplied by I. Simple. N multiplied by I. 5 into 1, 5 into 2, 5 into 3, 5 into 4, and at the end just do endl to move to the next line. Simple. This is how the code looks like. And if I try to run it and I just enter, let's suppose I want a table of 8, I just write 8 and it gives me the table of 8. The code is running fine. Okay, these were the 5 programs that I intended to do in this tutorial lecture. So the next category of programs that you will get to see in loops are pattern problems, and these will be discussed in detail in the next video. The pattern problems actually involve nested loops. I'll just give you an idea so that you get familiar. Nested loops means loop inside loop. Let's suppose I'm running a for loop here and I write some statements here, right? So instead of these statements, I again write a for loop inside, and then again I write some statements within here. So this is how nested loops work. Based on this, pattern problems exist. So basically, if you get to know how pattern problems work, it will ensure that you get everything how loops get working. You will not miss out anything on how loops are working right now. So pattern problems are really important. So the lecture would be released soon. Please keep learning all these things that have been taught and keep revising. If you are liking the content, please do like the video and subscribe the channel. Do share it with your friends so that they also get benefited. Have a good day. Until then, bye bye.